Love that. Just ends. Hi, welcome everyone to another episode of ARPchives Live. You're here in ARP, Alan R. Perlman Foundation South in New York, soon to be in Boston. Anyway, I'm going to bring in CherishThe Luv, DJ CherishThe Luv. Welcome. Hi, how you doing?
Hey, I know that ending was abrupt.
Hey, that's okay. We have a lot of other endings to be sharing with you, so I think this will
No,
be.
I just like to make you miss me.
So Cherish is across the country. You are in LA exactly?
And I'm in actually San Clemente, just a bit south of LA, but was in LA and I'm down here. Yeah, and I'm not experiencing the snow. I feel a little bit snow survivor guilt about that, but I'm kind of enjoying the warmth. So,
I bet you are. Yeah. Anyway, it's all good. Today it's actually 50 degrees, so I could walk around with
okay.
yeah. So
Hey, nice, nice.
all right. So I want to talk a little bit about how we met, because I find that this is one of those serendipitous meetings and friendships that almost didn't happen, but thank goodness it did.
My gosh.
So this was summer of 2019, and there was a lovely event in Asheville, North Carolina called Momentum. And Momentum was the official opening of the Museum. And I had a lovely invitation from Michelle and company to please come down, and I did, and it was the time of my life. And somewhere around the middle of it was like about a 4-day week, I started noticing this really, really sharp dressed lady in the audience. And I felt like I should know this person, but I don't know who she is. And, I just kept kind of seeing her out of the corner of my eye. And then lo and behold, we took the same plane back to New York. So there we were, waiting and waiting, and we're like, hey, you. And we started having this great conversation, and we joined forces right after, and we took was it an Uber back to back to the city, and going through Queens and going through. It was really great, and we went past by the David Bowie building, and we realized we were kindred spirits. When I'm like, I got to take a picture of that. I have to take a picture of that, and we've been corresponding ever since. And there's been a lot of near misses where we were supposed to meet, and life happened, and then the big picture life happened. And so
the
here
big
we
picture
are.
life happened. But that's incredible. I'm so glad that you're bringing that up, because that trip was so life-changing for me. And like you're saying, it almost didn't happen. It was such a fluke that I was just scrolling through Instagram at the right time and saw an ad for the opening and for Lisa Belladonna to be performing. I think it was like 2 or 3 days before the opening, before that Museum event. And so everything in me was like, you have to drop everything you're doing this week and just buy a ticket and go to Asheville. And I had promised myself that anytime I get that kind of correspondence from wherever it's coming from, inside me or divine, whatever, I don't ignore it, because every time I've ignored it, I've gotten hurt.
Oh.
like hurt, like actually hurt, or missed out on something that was like incredible. So I said, okay, I'm going to suddenly just buy an almost last minute ticket to Asheville, find a hotel, and then just go to this thing. That first night when Lisa was playing, and I turn, and I'm in the front, and I turn and I see you and Michelle Moog, I was going to say triangle, but it was more like a square, the four of us. There was something going on there. There was this swirling energy, just like this divine connection. And I didn't know what was going on until Lisa spoke after the performance. And then I understood who the two of you were. And I was like, this is incredible. And then the next day when we had the Q&As and everything like that, and we just all started to get to know each other. And I say my life has changed because Lisa Belladonna has influenced me so much and taught me so much. I think about legacy and music because of you and Michelle so much. I start to think about where creativity in my family comes from my parents. I start to think about these things more. And this, like you said, was barely 2 years ago.
Lifetime ago.
And it feels, of course, it feels like a whole 20 years ago, because the way I look at and the way I've been listening to music and playing has changed so much. And even in just the past 4 months since I last saw Lisa, so much to talk about. And then you and I saw each other in the airport, and you were like, hey, and I was like, hey, and then we flew back, and then here we are on TV.
So I imagine, like many people, that your journey to get to Asheville started many, many years ago. We saw in the beginning, and we'll see later that besides being into electronic music and synthesizers and DJing, that you're also, I think, quite an accomplished keyboardist. And I think I've seen pictures of you with violins and stuff too. So I really, let's go back to the beginning. Let's talk a little bit about your musical background. All right. So I think to present this in the most entertaining way, I'm not going to go all the way back to 1976 when I was born. I'm going to start at 2008. So 2008, I sustained a head injury. I was
skateboarding down a hill in Sweden. So you don't know this. I love the face you're making. I'm gonna,
I was
I'm gonna
skateboarding in Sweden.
I was skateboarding in Sweden because I, at the time, was married to a Swedish guy, and of course, I was, too good for a helmet. I'm going down this hill, and I'm picking up speed because I'm a really good skateboarder. And I blink, and suddenly all I see is grass.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, wow, weird. And I'm sitting on the grass, my legs crossed, and I'm going, oh, wow, I was just going down this hill. I turn this way, and I see the hill, the road, and I see my then husband running towards me, like slow motion, like, whoa, and I see him trip, and he's in the air. And I was like, whoa, everything's so slow. I look down at my hands as I'm sitting on the grass, and they're pooling up with blood. I was like, oh, I fell off the skateboard. And I realized it wasn't my hands bleeding. The blood was streaming from my face. So I had lost these 4 teeth. That's why they're so awesome, because I divide them. I had a hole in my head, broke my shoulder, broke my kneecap, and tore my other knee open from this impact. So my then husband saw that I had hit my head on the ground 3 times, going down a hill full speed, no helmet. So I had to heal from the physical injuries of that and get new teeth and all of that. But what I didn't understand was that I was also experiencing something called post-concussive syndrome, which is basically I had a concussion, basically like a fog or memory problems or amnesia that can last a week to 2 years. It's bio-individual. Mine lasted like 2 years. So my career before that impact, I was a high-level graphic designer, wasn't doing anything in music and sound at all, and I couldn't remember how to do my job anymore. I was like so lost. I eventually filed for divorce. I had no more connection with my husband. I wasn't paying bills. I was completely broken, and I didn't understand it, because what I learned from that was when you have a head injury like that, you almost don't know what you don't know until you're faced with life and you are just so lost. And so over time, I had to relearn how to brush my teeth again, how to run a bath. I remember the first time someone ran a bath for me, blew my mind that you climb in it. I was like, I go in this tub, this water. And it was just like, seems so just wild. I went to a wedding, and at the time my shoulder was still broken. So I was still arm locked. And this woman comes up to me, and I go to shake her hand, and she's like, whoa, why are you shaking my hand? And it was my aunt, and I had no recollection of her. My mom's hair is white, like as white as my iPhone, my eye thing, my case. I couldn't remember her hair ever being black. So what started to trouble me was I didn't understand who I was anymore. And people would ask me questions, and I just had no answers. I started to get this super high level of like anxiety and panic attacks and things. And I started to see a therapist who sent me to cognitive behavioral therapy to help me with this amnesia. I was a high functioning amnesia survivor, not working, spending my savings, and just so lost for a solid year and a half. So at these therapies, they would give me those, those puzzles that were like, here's a sequence of shapes, which comes next in the rotation, or what's this, these combinations. I could do that, no problem. But I couldn't remember what school I went to. I couldn't remember, just all these things about me, who I was, until one day I come home, and on the radio I hear Paul Anka, Lonely Boy. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking about being in the station wagon with my cousin, my aunt, and my uncle. And it was the first time since my accident that I was able to access memories of my youth. And I started to listen to more music, knowing that that was going to be my therapy. So I told the therapist, I told my counselor, and they were like, listen to music. So I went to Napster, LimeWire, downloaded everything I could. I had so much music to just keep listening to. And then I would hit certain songs. I'd suddenly be in high school. I'd hear like Echo and the Bunnymen being high school, Depeche Mode, high school, you know, like all these things started connecting me back to where I was.
Oh, wow.
And that was so exciting, but also really interesting because when a bad memory would come back, I would realize, wow, I had to kind of work to remember those too. Why can't I just forget those? Those eventually came back too. But over time, I was using music to get my like sense of self back and to access those memories. So what I did then was I told I told some local friends, like, hey, you have coffee shop connections. Can I just DJ for like my therapy? Just play music there and set up a little table and my little, you know, computer and iPods and just play music because it's really good for me. And I started to play music at coffee shops. Eventually got a controller. People started just nicknaming me, oh, DJ, hey, you know, and I was like, yeah, barely DJing, just playing music. And then eventually people would say, hey, I want you to, you know, I have this book signing event. Can you DJ my book signing event? So I'm talking 2009, 2010. And I would say, okay, cool. What can I pay you? And I was like, no, don't pay me, or just give me a penny. So I would do these events for a penny. I have a little envelope of pennies from my first gigs. So eventually people were like, oh, hell no, here's $50, you know, or like, here's $100 or something like that. And I started getting hired to do these things. And I realized, okay, I really need to just stay in music because this is the only thing that is making me feel like I have survived what has happened.
Wow.
So going through that, then I realized, all right, I need to learn the piano. I like want to create music. So I go online, Craigslist, find used pianos, found one that was $350, called them. This older guy came in and he and this younger guy brought this piano to my place. I was sitting in front of it. And there's a lot of story about him too, because he came and brought this piano for his healing also. But after he left and I was sitting with the piano, I was like, wow, okay, I'm going to learn how to play piano. And I sat and I started playing chords. I was like, okay, I know how to play piano. I didn't remember that I knew how to play piano. So I called my mom and I said, Mom, did I take piano lessons? And she was like, since you were 5. I couldn't remember that. And I wasn't playing piano until I got that piano in 2013.
Wow. You know, there's a, I find that with, there's some kind of synaptic thing that happens with hand-eye music. It's a full body experience. Music is a full body experience.
Yeah, you feel it through your skin, through your hands, through your eyes, your ears, everything.
That's an
It's a full
amazing
body.
story. Wow.
Wait, there's more.
Well, you know, somewhere between there, you got to Nile Rodgers. I mean, okay, there's like some.
Well, this is the perfect segue. So I kept DJing and doing more events, and eventually I started to DJ for TED Talks. And Niall's foundation, Nile Rodgers We're a Family Foundation, was responsible for a TEDx team.
Cool.
And before I knew it, I was doing volunteer work for TEDx team. And during one of the, I guess, prelim sessions, I found myself sitting next to Niall, and I started chatting with him. And I wasn't diagnosed with cancer yet back then. I was just a volunteer DJ and everything like that. And we were just building this amazing relationship. Eventually started to become the resident DJ for his foundation. Incredible foundation. We are a family foundation. Big props. And suddenly I got a diagnosis of breast cancer. So we're talking 2015. My diagnosis of breast cancer, going through chemo and everything, then changed how I DJ'd and how I played keys because I lost sensation in my hands and feet still to this day. So I have something called chemotherapy-induced peripheral neuropathy, which is numbness for me from here up to my fingertips. So when I play, it's like I started panicking and DJing. If you don't feel your fingertips as a DJ, it's a pretty messed up situation. And that was onset from chemo. And I was warned about it and everything. And of course, I was like, I'm just going to go through it. So when I was diagnosed, going through therapy and everything, I then became allergic to my therapy and was taken off of it. And that's so scary because there was no alternative, no alternative treatment. I asked my doctors at Sloan and they were like, she was like, just be happy. And I was like, what? Where is my like CVS version or my Kirkland brand version of this medication? And there wasn't one. So when I got home, I realized the importance of what she said. So just coincidentally, that week, these treatments called immunotherapy had also come out. And it's basically treatment to help your immune system jump in and take care of what's going on in your body. And I thought if I could do that myself from within, which was her telling me to be happy and find all the ways to be happy, that was the best I could do. I told Niall, just got diagnosed with what I'm going through. And then he told me, because he is at the time 2-time survivor, looked me right now and he was like, play as much music as possible. Take the day. That's what I do. It's a blessing that it's my job. And then I can say that like my job is something that I, enjoy and actually heals me, and something that then spreads more joy, and I can be in the educational space as well. It's just all because of the crash. I mean, yeah,
It's life is it's just incredibly serendipitous, harsh, and beautiful at the same time. It's
and ironic and kind of a jokester and all of that stuff. But I've come to a place where I start to trust now that these sometimes these difficult events are some kind of launching pad for whatever you do with your resiliency about it. And that's the test. I think that's the test. So from these events, I grew musically and was able to take that into spaces that wouldn't have music teaching or synths being brought into them. It's so special. It's so special. And my synth journey, it's very interesting because I hadn't touched synths until about 2 years ago, because I mentioned him already, my ex-husband, he was very much into it. And after our divorce, I was like, I want nothing to do with anything that he liked. So it was like blinders, right? But then I was reintroduced to the sounds and the electronic music, production, fun, and just the expression of it. And then you're a rack, forget it. And then more Moog in my life, and then ARPs in my life now. And then watching Lisa Belladonna play and going down the rabbit hole and learning about people. And then also my desire to be representative in a community that tends to be mostly white cis males. I'm a woman, BIPOC, I need to represent more so that there are people who look like me and feel like this is a space for them too. So it's really awesome that you have me on this platform.
I was having a conversation with Rob Pericelli yesterday, I think, or the day before, about how if there are more role models such as
Exactly.
you, then someone who looks like you, feels like, can identify, will want to grow up and use synthesizers.
Yeah.
There was this big period in the beginning where it was much more diverse, and then it sort of, it got a little bit more homogenous, and I think that if we you are a role model, you are a mentor, you are a teacher, you are out there, and you're willing to be out there, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that you are, because everyone should be able to enjoy using these and hearing the music from them, and the joy of discovery that comes with it, which I think is really part of the fun of synthesizers. So you had an amazing long weekend or week with Lisa Belladonna. When was this? Was this last fall already? I
It
can't
was
remember.
sometime last fall, which feels like 5 years ago. Yeah,
Time
Lisa and I
time
had a
is really
slumber
weird.
party. Our slumber party was epic. And if Lisa's listening, or she'll eventually listen to this, God, I love you so much. So, I go there and I know Lisa's going to like turn me upside down and spank some kind of limiting mindset out of my brain, which she did. But she also helped me think about my hands in a different way. Because I had been walking around feeling like, my hands just feel so injured or so broken or something. And I would play feeling like that. And she kind of cast a spell on my hands. And then all of a sudden I was like running up and down the keys in a different way, like the week after.
And I remember I feeling just so excited that you were going to go and have this musical experience with her,
You knew.
and jealous. I was like,
Hey, we had you on the
you
FaceTime.
did, you did, you did. You brought me in there. But I think before we talk more about it, I'm really of the mindset that I like, this both with artwork and music. I want to hear it first and then talk about it after, because
Yeah.
I don't want to put I don't want to put preconceived notions into other people. I want them to experience it. So I think if that's okay with you, I'd like to put on an excerpt of the piece that you did and that you shared with Frequency Shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay. Let's do that.
Great.
Okay. Cool. That was amazing. I just want to let everyone know that there is a longer version of this that we will post a link to on Facebook, and also when I publish this up to YouTube, because it was breathtaking. It was heart opening when I heard this for the first time in Frequency Shift, and I'm just so blessed that you're letting us hear it here as well. Thank you so much.
Oh, I fell in love with the string ensemble. My God. I want two of them. I want to play them left and right, like Joe Zawinul, like, just.
Yep. I don't think you can reverse the frequency on a string ensemble, unfortunately, like you can. So you can't have the backwards thing going on with the keyboard, but that.
I'll find a way. I'll sample it and find a way.
I just want to answer a question. Thorsten asked if this was in Lisa's studio, and yes, this was in Lisa
Yeah.
Belladonna's studio. So, um, there is more about the healing process with the synthesizers, and I'd love to know what did Lisa demand of you in this in this realm? How did tell us about
Oh,
this?
pretty much don't bullshit myself,
Ah,
just and flow.
yeah.
What Lisa kept instilling in me was that like the vast wilderness that was inside me was where I needed to go. And oh, come on. Like I'm gonna cry. It's so beautiful to have someone, to have a mentor, a sister, a friend, just like someone who like lovingly can see, like she'll look at me and be like, stop it. like I know I have a term for how I feel about myself and how I see in others. Like I know you're a crouching giant. It's just like I know it. Just get up already. But you need people like that to bolster you. And it's what I do with the kids I work with. It's what my mentors do with me. It's just that's what music is for. I mean, that's why I was saying that after this trip, like I started to listen to music very differently. I was listening to it originally with what I couldn't feel with my hands. I was listening through my deficits instead of really just purely listening, and then my body would respond to how I wanted something to sound instead of feeling like, oh, I'll never be able to do this thing that fast. In that intro video, there's a moment there where I was playing the fastest I had ever played, and it was like 2 weeks after I saw Lisa. I couldn't believe it. Watching the video back, it was like, and of course there are physiological barriers, but whatever is psychological, when you have that support, it's everything. It's everything. And I hope to be that for people as it's been, as people have been for me. And you seeing me this way, you're doing that for me too. You just need to know that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Um, I may have told you this before, and maybe some of you remember when I first started the foundation, but the whole premise really came from the fact that my father was a mentor, and he would create opportunities for people. He would just lend people 2600s left, right, and center. Yeah, he would just he fixed up someone I know with a reel to reel. This is way back in the day, and the 2600, and all sorts of equipment, and said explore, and he became a professional musician for
Oh,
yeah,
God.
yeah, yeah. So
I wish I met your dad. I mean, I feel like I'm connected to him through using everything that's his essence. So I wish I met him. We could have talked NASA and global warming and all that stuff. It would have been, yeah. It's so lovely to know from the way you've described like how this company came about, the building of these instruments, and then knowing who's used them. And then now I say to myself, I'm using it too. That's the inclusion part. That's so human.
I think that's what's great about the Moog and the ARP legacies, that they're continuing. It's
Hmm.
not just something that was back then, but I don't even want to say it's been resurrected. I think that there was always a thread of people that were into them, and this whole resurgence in the love of analog,
Yeah.
and or I want to say not just analog, but the whole subtractive synthesis. The idea of really manipulating sound waves.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's a different place than just presets. Not that there's anything wrong with presets. I mean, the string ensemble is just gorgeous, and
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but the exploration that happens, that discovery, that aha moment,
Mhm.
which I know that you're having also because you've been experimenting. Was Lisa's studio the first time you played with a 2600, or did you?
Oh God, I don't even want to admit this, but I'm going to admit this because I just said I wasn't going to. Um, I was so intimidated by them just staring at me. So that's why I
You
turned
think
like
it's not
string
a scary
ensemble.
thing?
String ensemble, you look friendly. And I think, that's just like my path to it. So I didn't play them yet, but she hooked it all up. But I'll be back there in a couple of months. They'll be different. But the first time I actually got to play was at your booth with the chord model that you had set up.
The Odyssey, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. And I was like, just hanging out with everything there. But what I've been using lately, and I think that's what we're leading into, is the virtual versions, the plugins, which I think are just great. Specifically, the Cherry Audio CA2600 plugin that I'm using through Ableton, but is a standalone also for 25 bucks. Come on.
She's not getting paid to plug this, guys. She
I'm
really
not.
isn't.
I'm not getting paid to do it. In fact, I mean, I want to gift it to students I work with. It is so exquisitely done. And I fully understand the passion that goes behind trying to recreate these sounds. They're not sampled, they're like recreated. And I was trying to wrap my head around that after talking to Dan. Dan, you're awesome. You might be here.
I think he
You're
is here.
here,
He was here earlier.
Dan.
Yep.
Just so awesome. The passion that goes behind creating these like um, faithful recreations of the sound in the scientific way, not sampled. It blows my mind, and then the way we can use it in our digital audio workspaces or standalone, it's just like, okay, so it's accessible. Now I just want to get it into more people's awareness. And when we open up again in the classroom, in person spaces, you better believe I'm going to have big screens with these things right there and plugged into a big system and record what happens with these kids. Because what I had been doing prior to pandemic, I had been bringing instruments from little Casio keyboards to electric guitars to acoustic instruments to a couple of places in New York City, specifically one family shelter where I was working with the kids there who obviously they're not holding $1,000 synths or anything like that. But my God, when I would put the gear in front of them, a bunch of patch cables, plug it in and say, okay, figure this out. And when I come back, I want you to teach me. I'd go to another station, work with some kids, and suddenly I hear a sine wave. And I'm like, okay, so they got to the first step. And then I start hearing some sort of scritchy, scratchy noise, modulation, something. And I know they're figuring something out, in their own way, because I didn't want to teach them this is how you do it. I wanted them to discover it. And I'd hear them going, wow. When I'd bring this in, they would tell me, when are you coming back? Because we want to play with the calculators again. I was like, okay, I'm doing a terrible job teaching you what these are called.
Hmm.
But they're not
Doesn't matter what
calculators,
they're
but they're
called.
amazing. Amazing. And they're blowing my mind because I get to understand which kid had natural harmonic understanding. When I would play a drone and then I'd hear one of these kids play something that was like in like, a melody with me that actually was in key, it'd blow my mind. Some of these kids, that was the first time they had handled any kind of instrument. And that says a lot. So with plugins like this, and I want to just bring them back in when it opens up, which I think will be maybe late this year, definitely next year. Like I
Hmm.
could feel it. Yeah.
Cool. So you sent me a really sweet little piece that you were exploring on the um, CA 2600. So
Yeah.
uh, I want to play that. I'm gonna play a little bit of it, and we're gonna have the full thing at the end as we as we exit, and then I'm going to open it up to questions after that.
Great,
But is there
great.
anything you want to add before I play this piece?
Yeah, so I had recorded that a few nights ago, just exploring every single one of the presets and jumping around and tweaking. And I started to get an understanding of, okay, this slider does that. It's just that, even in like, you sit down with it for 4 hours, there's like 1,000 things you're going to learn. I'll never remember it, but that's also kind of fun, like the whole fleeting thing about it. And that whole bit of what I had gone to see Laurie Anderson with Michelle Moog and stuff. And Laurie Anderson said something to me that, like, she's another one who changed my life with something she said. And she said to me, there's something really incredible about playing music you've never played before that you will never play again. That just gave me the complete green light to just be and do. So we need to hear that stuff. It's not about perfection, right?
No.
It's about expression and feeling. So this recording that you're going to play was me just kind of understanding and feeling it. And there might be a little something there that someone might recognize. I'd be really
keyboard, that
Oh, that's the
rainbow thing.
Roly. Yeah, so that's the Roly Lumi. It was mysteriously recently sent to me. I will find out who sent it soon. Make yourself known. Don't be sneaky.
So you really don't
But
know?
no, I don't. No, it just kind of
Ah.
showed up. I've had some interesting gear show up, but people have told me to expect something, be home and sign for it. But this is different. Um, yeah, so that clip that you played, did anyone recognize the motif in it or get a feel of something familiar? Anyone pop in the chat? Because I know we have a lot of kind of.
Well, you're getting a lot of compliments on it.
Oh,
Yeah, I just put one up here. Um, there's a motif that you want someone to guess, huh?
yeah, well, I don't think anyone guessed it, but I think someone might have felt it. It was my homage to the 2500 being played in Close Encounters because of your Instagram post. So that was based
Oh,
off of GAFFC, and
oh, bum
in
bum bum. Okay.
and in honor of faithful replications or recreations, because I was talking to Dan at Cherry Audio, I recreated my Devil's Tower for dinner. I think I did a really great job. It's
What is it
there
made
you
of?
go. So potatoes, just like
Oh,
Richard Dreyfuss in Close Encounters. So that film, when I was a kid, blew my mind. Sorry, you guys are hearing mashed potatoes now, but that scene where I didn't know what an ARP was, I just saw a guy who I then learned was your tech guy at ARP, right?
oh,
Phil
Phil
Dodds, was it?
Dodds. Yeah, yeah.
Playing it, the aliens interacting, and I was just like, whoa. I remember that scene as a kid and just thinking those sounds, I really like them. Didn't know it was called a synth, didn't know it was called, in fact, I thought it was called a toy because people were like, that's not a real piano. So, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have students who say that too. And I go, it's an instrument, it's music. You hear notes, you know, what's real? Like everything is virtual now, it's like so many of the songs you listen to are created on the computer now too. So I tell the kids this. But when I was a kid and I'd hear that, I remember then asking my parents for a keyboard, not a synth. They didn't know what it was called. And my dad comes home with a Casio SK1, little sampling keyboard, and had that kind of sound. When we go back to the things that we love to do when we were kids, we just like tap into that joy again. And I think that's what happened to me about 2 years ago when I started getting back into the sounds and the frequencies. Felt like I was healing the space of, when you have interests and you get pulled away from it because of life or influences, or you just feel like I don't deserve to enjoy, those things that we do.
There's terrible things we talk to
Those,
ourselves about. I know.
those ethically terrible things we tell ourselves about not enjoying. But I couldn't have come to these places without having those really scary moments in life that just taught me to just enjoy and just explore and to do this with music and to do this with people. It is so important. So 2600, when I'm back at your place, Lisa, I'm not going to let go of it. I'll be sitting there. I mean, who doesn't love the 2600? If you don't, then you're saying you don't like R2D2. There's something really wrong with you, right?
You can stop by and play mine on the way down to Lisa's.
Exactly. Actually, you're closer to home to me, so I think I'm going to look at that thing. Look at that beauty. Look at it. Why is it not blinking? Why is it quiet? I love it. It's just in my background.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'll be there. I know where you are. Yeah, so growing up, I listened, the music that I loved a lot of synth music. I just didn't know it was synth. Of course, there was Herbie Hancock around me. There was Frankenstein. Heard that all the time, and then I would listen to Depeche Mode and, like I said, the Buggles, Echo and the Bunnymen. Like it was all these sounds, but didn't know it was synth because I grew around this thing called piano. That weird elitism.
Ironically, so did I. I mean, I was brought up
Of
on piano.
course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. But, your dad and his beautiful piano still led to synths. For me, there was a chasm between the two.
Mhm.
Like, why? So anyway, my job is to close that gap and
That's your job.
just make music. Just make the music.
Excellent. I would like to open up questions from the audience. I'm hoping that,
Awesome.
yeah. Somebody had asked about, yeah, that was Lisa's studio. All right, so let's make this formal. It is Q&A time. So please ask questions. There are no since we're both teachers, we're going to say there are no dumb questions. Ask anything you want.
Ask anything. Absolutely.
Okay. Uh-oh, I think I sense some shyness. I don't see anything happening yet.
Okay, in that
Yes.
case, then I'm going to say something until before
Okay.
someone asks the question. I'm
Okay.
going to say, uh, I want to help continue the work that you're doing with your foundation. So I'm making a donation of
Ah.
$26 because I want to see that
Oh,
2600.
here. I'll put the what,
Put the
2600?
link up.
What, 2600? What did you say?
Mind the decimal point. I'm going to donate $26 right now. And I invite anyone who enjoyed anything you listened to this evening to match me or come close or do better. But here I'm doing it. I'm
we
hitting next and I'm
we
hitting.
we only need 100 of you to make 2600 if you all donate
Oh
$26.
my goodness. Can we do that? People here? Can we do it? Can we get 2600 today from this? Okay, so I just donated $26.
Thank you so
I would
much.
love to see people follow me.
Okay, I put the link in the chat, everyone. So we have our first question from Chantal de Felice. Can you talk about using controllers with the VST?
Okay, yeah. Thanks for the question, Chantal. She was actually in a room with me, so I love that. Uh, Basically, using any controller that plugs into Ableton, you can control these plug. Sorry,
Whoops,
let
I
me
did
just
the
show you.
wrong one. Whoops.
Okay. I don't know if you could see my screen. Can you see my screen?
We can.
Okay, so the particular controller that I was using is the APC40, the MK2. I like it because I'm a DJ and I can do crossfader stuff.
Uh-huh.
But I also use the Roly, the keyboard. Any controller that you would use in Ableton will control or allow you to change and manipulate these plugins like it's a piano or any other instrument. It's so brilliant. And again, let's go to Cherry's site, Cherry Audio. They have these Moogs. They have so much stuff, and all for that same price point. And I didn't know about them until you told me. So I just want to share that info. Just check it out because the range of sounds. Listen, obviously there's nothing like sliders in your fingertips, right? But until my Antinous comes from Spain, I know I'm starting my order with you. Until that lands, I can still learn using the plugins and also still create.
Yeah, I think it's a great learning tool to start again to understand the theory behind subtractive synthesis, to understand,
Right.
what an oscillator is, what LFO is, what ADSR is, and then
Feel
when you have that
with it.
opportunity, because sometimes opportunities are fleeting, we are going to be, as a foundation, we're going to be creating opportunities for people to use the vintage synthesizers. It's a program called ARPs for All, and that's all I can say, but we're getting very much closer to making the big announcement.
Arps for all.
ARPs for
Oh my
All.
God, I love it.
Actually, Dan
I
Goldstein,
better be part of that.
what's that?
I better be part of that program.
Yeah, yeah. Anyone that has questions about it, we will be making an announcement with location and details. But I want to bring it back to you. But I just wanted to, it's the idea of, learning the language. So then when you have an opportunity to use that language and you have hardware, be it a fleeting moment, be it a new instrument, whatever, then you can go and learn this. So Dan Goldstein wants to know, what challenges have you faced as a female synthesist in a sometimes male-dominated field?
Sometimes.
And how can
Sometimes.
the community do a better job reaching out to women?
Great question, Dan. Okay, that's a great question. I can't say that I've faced challenges per se because I entered into it when there's a lot more awareness than, say, 10 years ago, and a lot more confidence from performers like myself who are like, literally, excuse my language, fuck it. I'm going to just step into this space and claim my space and just learn and do. I I mean, I think that what you're doing right now, Dina, is a great way to just tell the world, yeah, it's inclusive. There's women are part of this community, and gender nonconforming and non-binary and queer folk and people of color. It's not just the majority population that you might be seeing. And I think to hold workshops and just feature more artists with, diverse backgrounds is the way to go. Because you can't force it either. It's not, because then it would look like you're forcing some sort of packaging or some sort of imaging. But I think if you just look for talent, Cherry Audio, you have your artists, featured artist thing. Dina, you can do featured artist thing too. It's like just have people like me who you put gear in their hands to find people who are like, oh, we should highlight these people. And they don't all have to be professionals or intimidating folks. It could be people learning, because that also opens up to be like, oh, I don't feel like I know too little, because I'll always be learning.
One of the things I'm planning on doing this year also is to bring in women that are more geared towards the technology, not necessarily
Yes, please.
performers also, but
Yeah.
people that that have invented, have recreated, restore and repair. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
all sides of the
Please. That would
all
be
sides of the
amazing.
brain need to represent, I think, too.
But also even historically, so there are producers and synthesists and women from, like, let's say, what's her name? Eliane.
Eliane
Eliane
Rodrigue.
Redig. Okay, so is there a connection between her name and the 2500 which she used and the 2500 being used to talk to the aliens? It's just like I always thought that. Like, so anyway, but like looking back in history like that, and Suzanne Ciani, and just highlighting them, and then inviting more women of all the backgrounds
Gloria
to be like,
Spiegel.
yeah, where are you? Oh my gosh. I mean, I think I want to become one of these women. So I'll just keep doing what I'm doing.
I think you are one of these women. So,
Okay, I'll just
yeah.
keep on track
Frank
and
Martin
just keep
says
smiling.
hello. Frank is here. All
Hi,
right, all
hey
right.
there.
So, more questions. More questions.
Yeah, this is great.
So, we're actually getting close to the end anyway. But let's I'm really excited to hear some of our similarities. I took piano when I was 5 years old. I
Oh my gosh.
am a graphic designer. All those great
Oh God.
things. Oh yeah.
Oh, check it out. So
Oh
you and I
yeah.
can sit and play Heart and Soul on your dad's piano.
That's right.
We can do chopsticks.
We can
Yeah, no, I'll be seeing you up in your new studio real soon, this spring or
I
summer
hope so. I hope
soon.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, I guess what I'd like to do now is probably play. We're kind of start to work our way towards the end. I want to just do one more plug for the foundation. This programming is all done by the goodness of everyone's heart. These are all purely donated time, expenses, equipment, which is getting better, everybody. I listened the last time I had some terrible sound and I felt really bad. And I started doing things like getting, real, you know, Logitech things and stuff like that. So we're good. But we do have a lot of programs that are coming up. Please come to the website and check it out. We have the ARPs for All, which is going to be formally announced soon. This is a studio that's going to be originating in Boston, where we're going to have a collection, a dedicated ARP collection of primarily vintage, some modern, VSTs of all different kinds, 2600, 2500, Odyssey, yeah, Way Out Where, Arturia, Cherry Audio. So really, really exciting. We're also working on getting a couple of summits together. We're going to have a women's summit, which anyone here who's interested, please contact me for sure. I've reached out to some people already, and also a 2600. Last year, we had this be the year of the 2500 in 2020, so this year, the year of the 2600. Basically, this is a 50th year of the 2600 being in full
Incredible.
production, and we want to celebrate that. It is seems to be one of the most popular instruments out there, and people are very, very interested and doing many different companies doing remakes and doing some beautiful, spectacular ones. You know, this is a Korg behind me, and Antonis does beautiful stuff as well. So I'm very
Let
excited.
me ask you a question, Dina. When was the first time you saw a 2600 in your home?
Ay, ay, ay. You know, it's in that dawn of memory kind of thing because, well, my dad had this workshop in the basement, and he also had the workshop in some offices he was renting, and then it kind of morphed into the little tiny brick, not brick, stone warehouse that was the first Tonus. The company used to be called Tonus. And it was always there. It seems like it was always there. I have pictures that I drew when
Amazing.
I was 7 years old, which means that that's probably about the first time that I saw them. Pictures of the 2500 and the 2600.
Oh
So,
my God, I want to see those drawings.
yeah, there's somewhere you could somewhere on Instagram for sure. They're on the calendar. We'll send you a calendar. But here's the funny thing: I couldn't figure out how to make sounds out of them either. I mean, my dad showed me, but the string ensemble and the soloist were my favorites also because, you know, I wanted instant gratification and it made sense to me. So,
I get it. I get it. I get it. But this
so
being the year of the 2600, I'm jumping in.
it was. I felt it was really fascinating work. There was oscilloscopes everywhere and little plastic colored parts, and you know, as a kid who liked to make things, it was sort of a dream to go and play with these components and think about what
Oh
could be
my
done.
God, I don't
Yeah.
think you even understand how cool of a kid you were. So tragic.
Isn't there a band Tragically Hip or some shit like that? You're right. It's I got very relaxed. I'm all good. All right. So everyone, I want people are beginning to gather, and I wanted to put the entire exploration of the CA 2600 for everyone to hear. Please come back, and I will post links to the full frequency shift piece, which is just just amazing, amazing work.
Thank you.
I was in awe. You know, not that I'm not in
Oh,
awe of you anyway,
thank
but
you.
I did not expect that just beautifully woven, textured piece to come out. So thank you so
Oh
much.
gosh, Dina, thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you, everybody, and we'll be here in a few weeks again. All right, all right.